Welcome into Sports and Shenanigans, where women's sports and pop culture collide. I'm your host, Jillian Carol Latrinko, hanging out on the KCSN, obviously powered by Cherry Co., a women-owned brand who supports icons, athletes, keeping them swaggy and sporty. And today we are joined by Haley Hopkins, forward for Kansas City Current and newly elected president of the NWSL Players Association. Haley, I'm so excited to chat with you. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
No, thank you, Jillian. The feeling is definitely mutual. I've been looking forward to this and excited to talk more about you about the new position and then a new position and new team. So since we last spoke at Media Day, hopefully have some more interesting things to report on my end.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I hesitate sometimes, but I literally have to tell you, meeting you at Media Day, you are the most genuine person. Like, I came to you with questions because that's my job, but you were genuinely interested. Like, oh, so you're from here. Okay. Like, it was just very refreshing to.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That's very, very sweet. Oh, I really appreciate that.
Of
You
course.
make it easy to talk.
Well, you're very kind, but it's no surprise though. You are a dominant force on the field. You were a player who was highly coveted, and you have found yourself moving from North Carolina to Kansas City. So 2025 brings you a new opportunity, and I feel like you have come barreling in and ready to go, and I just love it. You came to camp, and I feel like a blink of an eye later, you were signed to a great deal to stick around in Kansas City. So how are things going for you in this transition? On the pitch, how are you feeling? You've been featured in 2 of the victories so far in the season. And, how are things going?
Oh my gosh. I mean, again, yeah, since we last spoke at Media Day and the whirlwind of the trade and everything and feeling pretty out of sorts, I quickly fell into stride here. I cannot express enough how grateful I am to be at this organization and be in the city that supports its sports and especially its women's sports so passionately. That alone has made such a difference where you coming into a new place feeling just very supported and welcomed already and going around and seeing Kansas City gear covering the city, the teal street cars. I'm like, I look at it every time that I pass by. It just makes me so excited and happy. And it's great when I have friends that come to games too that are able to see the support and, like I said, passion that the fans and community has for this team. Like Kansas City is a trailblazer and all fronts of what it means to be like an NWSL team and has really set the standard and expectation for for current teams and teams coming in as to what it means to look like to have um, such a successful organization. And so that's the off the field, but on the field, oh my gosh, it's an incredibly competitive team. And again, coming into this group has only made me better. And when you surround yourself, when I was interested in when I found out Kansas City was interested, I was like, oh my gosh, me, this is what this who someone else is at work here. Like there's just no way because it is such an accomplished and championship caliber team. And so part of that allure to me in the decision to come here was the challenge of playing with players that are, you know, championship players on the highest stage, not even the NWSL, but on the international stage. Like when you surround yourself with players that are better than you, you're only going to get better yourself. And that's been exactly what it's meant to play for this team. And also just a really, really great group of people off the field too, staff from the front office all the way down to each player on the team. It's been nothing but a really positive experience. And I'm really, really grateful and excited that I get to be here at least for the next couple of years.
Yeah. Well, and I know Kansas City is just as happy to have you. I have to get your take on CPKC Stadium because you came from Wake Med, which is another incredible game day environment. You guys had such a run last year at home. But what was home opener like at CPKC Stadium for you playing for Kansas City?
I'll tell you what, even just starting off of my last 2 years, my parents, I'm from Southern California originally, and it's hard. And I'm the oldest of four siblings, just a little background. And my youngest, it's me, girl, and then brother. And he plays sports. My other sister plays sports. And it's always been difficult for my parents to, split themselves up and figure out whose game they're going where in Kansas. And it was always difficult with siblings being in school, making it out to Raleigh to see me with no direct flights coming from California. It's a lot of travel. And so Kansas City was always a meeting place for my parents to come out. And so they were able to come out to a couple of the games, probably more so in Kansas City than anywhere else in the last couple of years. And that's large in part to the game day experience and stadium that we have here. And there's just such a sense of pride coming into the your first women's soccer only stadium. And again, it is so much better being on the other side of things now rather than playing against the team and having that fan support going in favor of you. It's a really, really incredible experience. And I would say that home opener was one of the most memorable moments of my soccer career. It was to be able to consistently play in front of a large crowd like that and feel that energy from the fans and, be treated like real professional athletes is not one to be taken lightly. And so that was a really, really special moment. And it's great for my parents to see too. It was always, again, so fun for them to come out to games, even just see the support of when I was at North Carolina, have some North Carolina fans in the stands. But I remember that we were all really excited about, regardless of a rivalry or competition, just seeing the women's game grow like that has always been something really inspiring. And I've always admired that about Kansas City and appreciated it because it's for the greater good of all of women's sports, not even nationally, but internationally.
Mm-hmm. And Angie Long, owner herself, always said, we were the first to do it with CP Casey Stadium, but we won't be the last. And, now we see Denver building another amazing purpose-built stadium for women and just continuing to raise the bar. So it's so incredible, to your point there. When we talk about Kansas City, when we talk about NWSL, you can't not acknowledge just the culture across the league. There is some global talent in this league. What to you as a player, from your perspective, what is that global influence, looking at Kansas City's roster alone? Players and stars, Brazil, Malawi, Canada, obviously the United States. But how does that cultural impact, how does that impact the game of soccer?
That's a really great question. And I would say that aside from even just being in college, from club soccer, college soccer on, the soccer and just sports in general is so unique in the way that it brings so many different types of people together from all walks of life, all with the common language of sport. And especially within the NWSL, of being able and becoming really close friends and developing these relationships with these international women, it has been a really, really cool experience. And teaching, seeing the progress of them learning English and us picking up on words too. I would struggle so much to go to another country and having not understand a lick of the language. That is incredibly intimidating, but it's been a really, really cool experience to get to know these women off the field. And back to your question about playing with them, each country has such a unique style of soccer that they play. And so when you get that combination and everyone plays and you work with the strengths of each of these players to complete a great team, a championship level team, it takes everyone. And I think that's really what sets Kansas City apart is the coach's ability to allow everyone to play to their strengths. And I don't think I do think that's unique to Kansas City. I think other teams can, you get there, you have the style of play, but here it is a style of play, but it's playing to your strengths within the greater picture. And so that's been really incredible to see and play for Blacko and staff.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Angola is represented, Coach.
Yes.
And Kenya, Lewis, what's that straight, David?
No, exactly.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. It is incredible how it impacts the quality of soccer on the pitch, but also your experience, as a teammate, as a coworker, if you will, with these women. So such an incredible experience. And to that kind of fact, if you will, or that new trend, how do you see that continuing in NWSL? We know NWSL is the best women's league right now, right? How do you see the global influence continuing?
The more, the more international talent that we attract, the better we will be for it and continue to establish ourselves as the best league in the world. Because I would say up until recently, like that hasn't been the case. And there is always contention and of which league when you compare it to Europe. And Europe obviously has that longstanding history of soccer infrastructure embedded into their culture. And America's growing, and um, American history compared to the world is we're very, very new. And I've learned that again from my recent travels. And I think that the strides that we've been able to make within sports as a whole, and then specifically soccer, we've closed the gap rather relatively quick, but also to the point where it is sustainable. And I think moving forward to the more international talent that we are able to attract, which we have seen over the last couple of years, the better we'll be for it. And it's only gonna bring attention to the rest of the world when these countries are following their favorite women soccer players, and you see them playing in the NWSL, and then they're watching games. There's just a domino effect of that support when you get to familiarize yourself with the entire league and all these teams. I just think it's really remarkable, and you know nothing to be taken lightly when we consider um, the NWSL as that best league on the international stage.
Yeah. As the game continues to grow across the world, of course,
Mhm.
NWSL wants to be that leading league. So I don't know if I said Brazil or not. Now I'm having
You did say Brazil. Yes, you did. And again, like it's been cool to see you watch play with uh, my Brazilian teammates over the last couple of years, because Brazil was always one of my favorite teams to watch growing up in the World Cup and the Olympics. Aside from the United States, of course, I just always thought their style of play and um, their talent is just different. It's different, and it's so fun and exciting to watch when soccer itself is a longer game and isn't like, I think again, that's where maybe the American game can or evolve and develop that appreciation for it is a completely different game than, football, baseball, yeah, but like basketball. And so when you have you're able to have those thrilling goals, the talent or the individual technical skill, they are next level. So it's been really, really cool to be able to play with them and learn from them.
Yeah, how cool for you to be able to play with the magician herself, Dabinia, of course, Bia. Um, if you've been a fan of Brazilian football, obviously playing alongside those two has got to be a dream come true, which is so, so cool. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll hear all about Haley's new role as president of the NWSL Players Association. Hang with us. We'll be right back.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your number one source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
We're back with more sports and shenanigans, joined by the newly elected president of the NWSLPA and, of course, forward for Kansas City Current. She does it all. Is Haley Hopkins. Haley, we're so excited to hear about your new role. So as we think about the NWSLPA, we know the leaders, Megan Burke, Tori Huster, they had an incredible, historic year last year with the CBA. We want to clarify, Megan Burke continuing to hold her title as executive director. Tori Huster is now moving to deputy executive director. And then you come in, Haley. So the new president, talk to us a little bit about that election process and your involvement with the PA that led you to now this new role.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to talk about it. This is the first time I've been able to, and so I've learned so much over my this is my third year in the league, which is, relatively short compared to most in terms of PA involvement. However, I was not as involved as much in my first year, my rookie year. I think that was more so just getting my feet under me, but I had those experiences that were not those unfortunate experiences that were not unique to me, but my involvement with the PA kind of was started with me asking those questions and talking to girls on the team and getting to learn a lot about, the history of the Players Association, the history of what the players have endured in this league, the good and the bad. And so I would say my first year, there was not any direct involvement with the Players Association. However, like my curiosity in those questions started coming up, and I was slowly but surely understanding the injustices that female athletes have faced, and which brings me to my second year. And one player in particular, one teammate in particular, Danny Weatherholt, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about her. She's the one who got me involved in the PA to begin with, and she's everything that I would want to be as a veteran in this league, where you really you have a watchful eye on people that are interested in you, or you pick up on people. And she really brought me under her wing and is considered one of my closest friends and also mentors within the league. And she got me involved in the NWSL collective bargaining agreement committee, which again, I think I was in before I was even in the PA at that point in time. Because you didn't have to be a player rep. And I was understanding a lot of what was going on with that CBA at the time too. I was unaware of the negotiations had been going on for years, but I knew I wanted to be involved. And I had a lot of questions that, affected not only me and things that I had gone through, but so many other players in this league. And so I was first introduced to the collective bargaining agreement committee, and then I was interested in being a player rep. I'm like, of course I would want to be as involved in this as much as possible. It's something I really care about. And I would say that prior to my time in the NWSL, advocacy was something that I wasn't particularly passionate about. So that really grew within my time of being in a position for the first time in this league where I had to fight for myself. And I now had to assign there's contracts you really are in the position of selling yourself to these teams. And now you have a list of other things to follow with that. But yeah, so I was then elected a player representative of North Carolina. And I would say with the Players Association, you get out what you put in. And I put in a lot. I was very active in meetings. I am unafraid to ask questions. And, I just tell myself, you fake it till you make it. And if you sound confident, then there's no other way to perceive you. And so I would say that I am a naturally confident and curious person, which definitely served me well over the last year. And I was able to, I had the opportunity to attend in-person negotiations with the league over our vacation week last year in Philadelphia. And that was long hours, but again, such a valuable experience. And I'm really grateful that I chose to spend my week like that and learn so much more about that side of what goes on within the Players Association and the work that Megan and Tori and the rest of our team has done over the last couple of years. And it really came to fruition during that week and our success in signing that CBA. Following that, I was a player rep. And so then again, I was pretty involved in a lot of the meetings and maximized my my overall involvement in all these different committees as long as a player rep and in communications with Megan. And that again, a lot had to do with what I wanted to get out of it and everything that I wanted to know. And following up until this off season, I had some good conversations with Tori and Megan about taking on more responsibility in the league and or in the Players Association. And so from there, nomination process came around and I knew that the presidency position was vacant. However, I was like, oh gosh, like I know I'm relatively young in the league right now. I don't want to step on any toes and also not be somewhere where I'm not supposed to be. But, this is work that I truly care about and has become super important and I realize it's important across the league. And as someone who cares who cares so much and feels really passionate about the work that we do, I think that alone puts me in a good position to be president. So I put my name in the hat and here we are.
Well, congratulations, number one. That is
Thank
big.
you.
And it's really cool to learn that you had a mentor in veteran player Danny kind of pull you in. I think that's really cool to know that she helped. She must have seen something in you that she thought you would, continue to prevail. So exciting, and shout out to Danny, right?
Shout out to Danny. I'm going to text her right after this and let her know I can't stop talking about her and how much she's helped me.
Well, that's what it's about. It's about the generation and it's about making the league better than it was last year or the year, every year being better. But speaking of 2024, we talked Megan Burke and Tori Huster and the team. Just an absolute historic CBA came out of the negotiations between the PA and the NWSL last year. Some things were implemented immediately, we saw previous, and then others 2025 and beyond. Out of this CBA, what are you most pleased with? What are you most proud of or just excited about as far as this? We got this done. We brought it to them. We got it done. And moving forward, the league's going to be better now.
Mm-hmm. No, I'll just first come out and say that Megan and Tori, the work they did, they are a force. We would really be in a way worse position as players without the Players Association. And I can't say enough how grateful I am to be involved in such an impactful and influential organization that has completely changed the landscape of the NWSL. And that's never to be lost on any of us. And it's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, way more than I ever would have seen or been able to know it had I not been involved in a lot of those conversations and put myself in that position to learn. But I mean, there is so much that has come out of the CBA. Again, I have learned so much in my relatively shorter time within the league as to it's been so important for me personally to learn the history of our players. So we do not repeat that. And with this CBA, we've been able to accomplish a lot moving forward. And what first comes to mind is, we have team provided housing and these owners are interested in not being in the job of being a landlord, which, completely understandable. But there was a very long night and conversation about the economics behind it and making sure that our players are not housing insecure by the time that how team housing is phased out, which I believe is phased out in 2027. And so to ensure that we have bare minimum salaries at that year, no player in any market will be housing insecure and will be able to afford rent. Seems standard and should be standard, but that's not the case. And so every single topic, no matter how seemingly small it was fought tooth and nail with the NWSL. And it was, it's a collective bargaining agreement. We're grateful that they worked with us, and then they were open-minded, and it was a really incredible experience. And so you also see the elimination of the draft. There was a lot too that I didn't understand and learn prior to last year, that why it was so important. Because growing up in NFL, MLB, NBA, the draft is standard. I'm like, how is that? Doesn't make any sense. But on the international stage in Europe, they don't have there's no draft. It's you sign, but they again have those academies and that infrastructure in place to be able to support it. However, the elimination of the draft, that was huge. That was huge, especially for these players to have coming out of college or even not going or deciding to forego college. They're now given the choice to say where they want to go and negotiate their own contracts. I think that is like itself was huge. And those players are, fit to decide what environment is best for them and their development, especially with these players coming in, these younger players that are signing with the league too. I couldn't imagine being in that position when I was younger and having not had, again, I was in college for 6 years. I loved college. I wouldn't change my experience, but now it's on us to be able to ensure that protection for these younger players. And that comes with the elimination of the draft and then also free agency. We're the first sports league to accomplish that. No matter how many years, if a player is out of contract, they're a free agent. And so with that, free agent is just fairness for all players. It goes with the elimination of the draft, where players are mutually agreeing into that contract, and they establish like that agency over themselves. Guaranteed contract. Like I can go guaranteed contracts. You get, and no matter what happens, that's guaranteed money. Like there's no, if something were to happen mid-season and you were, to be waived, that's 6 months of no pay. That ensures a little bit more security that you have within that team. Again, like there's just trading without player consent. I experienced that for the first time. I experienced that, and I'm so grateful that I got to have a say in where I was traded, because again, that hasn't been the case. And there's so many factors at play when it comes to with trades and like finances and breaking leases, moving across the country, all of that, like, and going to a team that maybe isn't a best fit and you're leaving your life. It's a hard decision, and being able to accomplish no trades without player consent was really, really monumental.
And these changes might seem, drastic or unlike other leagues, but as you mentioned it, this is not how, drafts are not normal in Europe, where soccer is the number one priority, right? I also can't help but think about when you talk about maybe an MLB player who's been traded or an NFL player who's been traded, the salaries that they receive year after year after year after year, they don't have to think about housing. They don't have to even think twice about, will I be able to afford anything in that market? And that's a big piece of this. And so as far as these changes that the CBA were successful in winning these changes, if you will, or really making these implementations, what has been the most uncomfortable piece about that, as far as the PA just continuing to raise the bar and continuing to say, we will advocate for the players. This is, a working environment that needs to be high quality for these employees, right? What's been the most uncomfortable piece with that? I know change is always hard for everyone, but what have you guys experienced there?
I would say on a personal level, it's for anybody. I don't enjoy, having to put myself out there and stand up for myself. It's so much easier. And I feel so much more in like a position of power when I'm speaking on the behalf of someone else. When I see that somebody else is in a position where they're getting screwed over on something, I'm like, how could you stand for that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I hope your agent securing this, if you need anything at all. Like, but then, if it happens to you, it is uncomfortable. And I think that, the Players Association is strengths in numbers, and you have so many different people that have experienced have each experienced something to their demise in this game that is so unfortunate, and it feels so terrible when it happens to you. But when you know that you have the support of the Players Association and it's one team at the end of the day. Like, that's what the Players Association is meant to be, is like, no matter the market, no matter where you are, like, we are here for you and for the betterment of the game. And I think that that feeling alone is so comforting to know that, you are not alone in this, as like simple and cliche as that might sound. Like someone else is fighting for you. Someone else has fought for you. Like we are here because of like the foundation that our previous players have like fought, and like from again, the learning about like the first years of this league and what players have been able to endure, honestly, up until recent years, has been like very disheartening and just simply unacceptable on so many fronts. And so I'm coming into the Players Association following the historic CBA being enacted. And again, in creating the vision of how we want to move forward from this, like the hard work has been done, but there's still a lot of hard work to go. And in what I feel like I can bring to the table as a president of the league is I've learned and I've listened and learned a lot of the stories of these veteran players. And so I understand where we're coming from, but however, I bring in that new perspective of coming into the league now and seeing the injustices of what's happening and being like, oh, this is not okay. But it's much better than it was years ago. But no. What I love about the PA2 is it's never going to be good enough, and it's never going to be acceptable from where we've started.
Yeah, that piece is so important. Never settle, right? That's
never settle.
Now, obviously, the mission of the PA is to advocate for the players, to provide that support. How has, there's the PA, but the other piece of all this is obviously the NWSL. How has that relationship, how have you seen that in your 3 years and now obviously in your new role? How have you seen that relationship grow together and improve? Would you say it has improved? And just how has the NWSL supported the PA?
Yeah, you know what? It is, again, it's a collective bargaining agreement. We worked collectively with the league in ensuring players' security and like safety. And like that's like first things first is everyone is on the same page of ensuring that the well-being of the player will always be protected and always is a top priority. But at the end of the day, the NWSL is a business, and so with that comes like those difficult decisions that they need to make. But it's hard because the commodity here are the players, and so they're people, they're human beings, and so you can't treat it the same as anything else. Like it's a completely different landscape. And so working with the NWSL and figuring out, and also having the player perspective at these negotiations and being so active in the CBA like bargaining was huge, because these are our lived experiences. Like we're the active players, and that alone, like that's perspective, that's invaluable perspective that league officials don't have. But it's also like they're not trying to really screw us over in anything. Like we're working together to make sure that players are protected and safe. And so that's the ultimate goal. However, it does get tricky, and it is a negotiation at the end of the day. And everyone wants to serve their best interests and make sure that ideally a win-win would be great across the board, but that's not realistic. So being at the table and seeing their perspective and being open-minded too, to see where they're coming from, but also I appreciate them listening and hearing all of us and treating each player with respect was huge. And it was as pleasant and long as that experience was, it was at the end of the day, you walk away and you're just excited, and we're all grateful that we're all part of bettering the game, because at the end of the day, it's nothing without the players, and the league does know that, and they've done a great job in terms of supporting. And with the growth that the NWSL has seen, being able to capitalize that and continue to promote and grow the NWSL, because like you said, we're the best league in the world, and we deserve the best.
Well, I mean, part of being the best is how your players are treated and supported, right? Mm-hmm. So it is all part of it. Well, obviously, another congratulations in the new role. You sound incredibly passionate about being part of the advocacy team, which is awesome. Do you think in the future, is this leadership and advocacy a passion that you may pursue? Will we one day see GM Haley Hopkins or a leadership role?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would be remiss if I did say that, like, there was of course, I would love to beyond soccer, what that looks like and being able to have the opportunity within playing the sport and pursue my other interests outside of it. It's a really, really incredible opportunity. And so a GM, I don't know exactly. I would love to stay within within women's sports down the line and whatever that looks like. And so I I would love to go to law school. That's the dream whenever that happens. And so again, if I feel so passionately about it, it would be a disservice to myself and the game if I didn't stay in it and didn't see it through. And I care so much about it. And I have this really, really unique experience of being that player and seeing that for years. And now and just being involved in the Players Association, I feel like I've really, at this point in time, maximized and will continue to maximize my overall experience as a player. And whatever that looks like down the line, I know that I do have passions to continue my involvement in whatever capacity that looks like. And again, when that day comes and I am no longer playing, I'm still involved in promoting and bettering the lives of professional soccer players, women professional soccer players.
Well, clearly the NWSLPA has got the right woman for the job. Congratulations again. It is awesome to see, to hear your passion and your willingness and dedication to advocating for your peers. So, first player, active president, incredible role. By the way, also forward on the case. We can watch the president run around on the pitch as well, which, to your point, only brings even more of a unique and important perspective. So, absolutely amazing. Congratulations. We completely appreciate you spending some time and sharing your perspective on everything. So thank you so much for that. And really excited to watch you continue in the KC Current Teal this year. But thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, Haley.
Oh, thank you, Jillian. I appreciate it so much. It's been really great talking to you. And the teal kits are so cute.
Well, fine. I feel like this year the kits have all been elevated. It's just it's been so good. All right, well, there you have it. The president of the NWSL Players Association, active NWSL player forward for Kansas City Current, Haley Hopkins. You've been listening to Sports and Shenanigans, where women's sports and pop culture collide. If you have not yet, please like and subscribe. Hang out with us. Get social with us on Instagram at Sports and Shenanigans. That wraps it up for today. We'll see you next time, guys.